Okay, good morning, everybody. We're in our Lorry and Lori podcast series. It's Lunch and Learn with Lorry and Lori. And today, Lori Highby is going to tell us all about podcasting. I've always had a lot of questions on podcasting. I don't really understand it. I've never done it. And for a newbie like me, Lori's going to take us through some of the key questions that you have to know about podcasting. And good morning, Lori. We'll start with, why would a podcast be of value to my business?
That's a great question, Lori, and good morning or good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. So that's a great question to ask because there's a lot of facts out there about podcasting. First off, podcasters are extremely loyal and typically they're very highly educated. Most podcasters have about a bachelor's degree, or podcast listeners have a bachelor's degree or higher, some sort of education along those lines. The other thing that is really interesting is that education related topics are the second most popular genre within the podcasting world. Podcast listeners are more likely to follow a company and their brand on social media. Another fun fact I found that 45% of monthly podcast listeners have household income over $75,000. So at the end of the day, the majority of people listening to podcasts are educated and in the world of business.
Well, those are all great reasons to start. And if I want to start it, what else do I need to know?
Well, you're going to have to know the name of your show. That's the starting point. You want to make sure that you have no copyright infringement. You're not stepping on anyone's toes from a trademark perspective. So you'll have to do a little bit of homework there, maybe contact an attorney to have them do some background check. The next thing is to really understand who is your audience. Who is it that you want listening to your show, listening to the content that you're creating? And then once you've identified that, what is the message that you want to be communicating to them? So once you've got some of those core things figured out, then you can get into some more of the technical details about the equipment that you need and whatnot.
And that brings up the equipment you need. I notice you have look like nice headphones. I have nothing. I see a lot of people, a mix of people with headphones, high-end equipment, very nice cameras, and then low-end stuff. So what do you suggest really works for podcasting?
You know, as long as you have something that's halfway decent and that serves its purpose, you don't need to invest, hundreds of thousands of dollars on the equipment. Headphones, these ones I got off of Amazon. They're about $30. There's mainly two purposes for headphones. One is if we're recording like this, it minimizes any sort of echoing or reverb that happens because the audio is just going in instead of, capturing any feedback. And two, when you're editing, it's nice to have something that you can really be laser focused on from, listening standpoint. So headphones are important. You definitely want a decent microphone. So right now I'm actually just using the microphone that comes with my headphones. But when I'm recording podcasts for my show, I actually have a separate microphone that I use. I'm gonna just grab that real quick. Oh God, let's see. So this fancy guy gets set up when I record podcasts for my show, so that it's just capturing the audio a little bit better. And then you're definitely going to need some sort of audio editing software. So Audacity is free. Adobe Audition is really the next level up and gives you a lot more editing capabilities. I've actually created a PDF document that I'm happy to share with everyone that's got some recommendations for specific audio and video casting components. You can go to keystoneclick.com/equipment list to download this. Otherwise, when we post this online, we'll also include a link right to the PDF document as well.
Well, thanks for doing that. As a business person, I do want to spread a message out there, and I also want to make money. Can I make money podcasting?
Yes, the short answer is yes. The long answer is, no different than anything else that you're trying to do to generate some sort of revenue. You need to have a plan. You need to be strategic in your actions and be focused on this is what I'm trying to achieve. There's a lot of different ways to generate dollars from podcasting. The top three that I found are sponsorship. So that's you going out and saying, hey, XYZ company, would you like to sponsor my show? And then they get placement spots within your show, whether it's a commercial or kind of a pre-roll or something along those lines. The second area that I see is that you can sell access to the content. So typically what someone will do will have free content that anyone can listen to, but then you have premium content that's only available if someone's willing to pay for it. Okay. And then the third is the tactic that I practice, which is called the Trojan horse. So my good friend Stephen Wessner was the one that introduced me to this. And basically you're being strategic about who it is that you're inviting on your show. And to some extent, you know, instead of me going, hey, you know, Mr. CEO, you need to hire me to do all your digital marketing, I'm going, hey, Mr. CEO, you'd be a great person to be on my podcast. Would you like to be a guest? Let's schedule a time to connect. They're more likely to open up the door and say, yes, I want to be interviewed on your show, than yes, let's talk about your digital marketing services. So I've actually converted 27% of my guests to paying clients.
That's amazing. That's amazing. How long do these podcasts?
That's okay.
You do a good job. You do a good job, Lori. How long does a podcast have to last, and how frequently do you have to publish it to have results?
So the timing of the show is a question I get often. And really, there are no rules. I've seen podcasts that are 5 minutes long and they're published daily. And I've seen episodes that are 2 hours long and they're published just twice a month. So it really comes down to your level of comfort. Again, knowing your audience and what they're going to want to listen to and what is the message that you're trying to convey. As far as frequency goes, I would recommend at least once a week because you're just trying to, you've got a following, you've got an audience, you want to be consistently putting content in front of them.
Okay. Being new again, this might sound like a dumb question. Like, where do I store my podcast? In an online podcast library?
No, that's a great question. So no different than a website. Your audio files or video files, if you're doing video casts, need to be hosted and they need to live somewhere. There's a number of hosted sites specifically made for podcasts. So Podbean, Anchor.fm, Libsyn, those are some of the popular ones. We use Libsyn for our audio files. And if we do any video, we just throw them up on YouTube.
Do they charge to host it?
Yes, some have free, some are paid. It depends on what type of information you have. So they're looking at the file size, the frequency that you're uploading content. What kind of data do you want? Do you want analytics on your show or you just want it to live somewhere? So there's a lot of different packages available. You just got to find what fits best for you.
If I wanted to start tomorrow, how do I find viewers for my podcast? How do I let people know I have it? How do people find me?
That's a great question. No different than anything else. If you're going to try to sell something or create something, you've got to leverage marketing. You've got to get the message out there in front of your audience. And so leverage social media, any established audience that you have. As I mentioned, it's a great thing to invite people to your show because then they're learning about your show and then they're sharing the show with your audience. So I'm always a fan of having guests on the show because then your content is getting in front of someone else's established audience. Something else that we've done is we've created some hype videos to build hype around the fact that a podcast is starting or is about to launch. So you can start to build a following before it's officially launched.
Okay. Any final tips to share about podcasting our audience should know about?
Yes, that's a great question here. So regardless of when the type of content that you're recording, I always think it's best to have a number of pre-recorded shows ready to go. So right now what is it? Today is April 21st. And I actually have shows recorded that are going to be aired up through July at this moment in time. So if something were to happen to me, if I needed to slow down the recording or I just wasn't able to get a recording in, I'm good to go as far as content consistency. So if your content is time sensitive, maybe it's like news related, you still want to have a couple timeless pieces of content pre-recorded so that if for some reason you couldn't get in there, you have something to plug in the meantime. But most importantly, have fun. Have fun recording.
So this is a shameless plug part. I take it that you help businesses do podcasting. You're very good at doing this. Can we hire you to help you put a podcast program together for us?
Absolutely. So we offer, and I wasn't expecting this, but we offer podcasting services from either just educating you on the tools and how to use the tools and best practices and getting started to literally all you have to do is record the audio, and then we handle everything else from the production, the promotion, and publishing and all of that.
Well, you are part of the Clarity network of people we highly endorse and trust, and we thank you for doing this.
Thank you. I love this topic and happy to share my insights on it.
Okay, have a great day.
You too.